The order of the day. Been married to my wife for almost exactly 11 years now. We have 2 wonderful children, a boy and a girl. Our marriage has changed significantly over the years, especially since our last child, age 3, and we haven't have slept together in almost 3 years. My wife had been seeing a therapist for depression, and she had complained of very low desire, and we experimented with various antidepressants to no avail. Our relationship has become very roommate-like, but up until recently, we shared everything. At times we both even joked about being too much alike. The lack of bonding bothered me, of course, and my wife probably felt guilty about it. But I managed and always held hope that her outlook would change. Truthfully though, my wife had clearly started to view us a platonic couple with kids. I have never had an affair with someone outside our marriage. There have been temptations and flirtations as there are with any daily interaction in life, but there was a line I would never cross. Not so much my wife. I found out after 3 months of obsessive, sickening investigation that my wife has been having an emotional affair with a married man with 3 children of his own. He is someone that I know through another family, and our children played with each other a few years back. I confronted my wife about excessive texting and phone calls on her cell phone, and she denied that her contact with him was anything more than a friendship. The first time I confronted her was a month ago. She claimed that she spoke to him a lot because he was funny, and they griped and complained about kids and parent things. I couldn't let it go. A second time I confronted her when called our house, and she started yapping away with him on the phone in the bedroom while I was there. The balls on this guy to call another man's wife, and the nerve of my wife to think I was so blind. Time passed, slowly for me, because I was making myself sicker and sicker obsessing over all the lies she was potentially telling me. I had no proof of a physical relationship, and all of the messages from him I saw were platonic in nature, but I had asked her twice out of respect to this marriage to stop. Over the last month, things between us had started to improve. I had started to let go of my obsession over what they were doing and had started spending more time with her and my boy and girl. Then sadly, I looked one last time at messages on her phone. There it was, complete profession of her love for him and also a hint of mutual decision to not risk both their families. I puked, again and again. I've been sick ever since. I confronted her immediately instead of thinking if I could let something I know was there possibly die on its own. The result was her finally admitting the emotional affair. We are now living apart. She is staying with her father and I am in our large house with my 2 children, trying to keep things together. We have talked in the past few days about what to do. She thinks it's best if we spend time apart. She wouldn't discuss the affair with me except to say that it's part of a larger set of issues we have. After time to clear my head, I have realized that her and my 2 kids are my entire life. I want nothing more than to have this go away, but I understand we have issues that we need to fix in our marriage, if indeed it can be fixed. I'm willing to seek counseling, but I don't think she is. I am not sure what she is going through, and I don't have the kind of relationship with her father where I can just call and talk to him about this. I feel worse than awful, alone, scared, and sick to my stomach. I never dreamed I'd be in this situation. I have a good relationship with her brother, but now no one is talking to anyone. For all I know, they are saying I'm to blame, as I'm sure she probably hasn't owned up to this to anyone but me. Hesitantly, I'm scared that giving her space just drives her into his arms, and that crowding her now just makes this whole situation worse. Any thoughts are welcome as my life has come crashing down. I'm trying to come to grips. Overwhelmingly, most people who have been here seem to think telling the OMW is the right thing to do. The truth is, I wanted to do this months ago but feared for my safety and my kids. This guy is a bit of a loose cannon and has a gun and a zillion and one contacts, and has bragged openly about being able to get anything done as long as you know who to speak to. No idea as how to even get in touch with her. He seems to have her phone and often emailed from his wife's email account regarding playdates for kids, etc. So I have to now find out how I start this 180 by telling the OMW. Ordered a GPS locator for her car, should be here today. Reading the 180 and trying to identify how to make contact with the OMW. Wife is moving out today to an app her father found for her. I sent her a message telling her the money needs to come from her job's direct deposit. I haven't frozen the accounts yet. I don't know if she is still talking to Om, but I will assume she is, because why wouldn't she now that she doesn't have me nosing into her phone? I need either way to talk to OMW, I have decided, but as I mentioned, I'm not sure how I can be thinking rental car and basically stakeout until I can get her alone, bring the transcripts of their text messages in case she is in denial. Here is my plan, but I need some feedback, so all of you that have been offering to help me, please chime in. I find OMW and expose it to her. I don't ask her to not disclose how she found out or ask that she not say she learned this from me, right? I told you my only fear is this guy doing something vengeful to me, my property, etc., since he knows where I live, versus if his wife could learn on her own by getting his phone, tailing him, etc. I don't know how to engage the OMW at this point, but I need to today or tomorrow. I let that explode. I don't react when my wife blows up on me indicating it was over. We were going to separate to have space and time to think and all that horse dung. I walk away and that is it. I go dark. I install the GPS in her sedan and track her movements, or at this point, is that not a good idea? For the longest time since our daughter was born, my wife's depression symptoms led me to believe she had a significantly deficient desire. She wasn't out getting a good time, that I am sure of. With her a P now, I still don't know. I respected her lack of desire in exchange for the loving marriage we had. We discussed it and she felt bad for it, but they were trade-offs for me. I'm not going to rationalize it now, however. The marriage issues are significant, but as already pointed out, and has been known all along, those issues are owned by both of us. This affair is all on her. A few days ago, I was denying. I am new but suddenly immersed in a world of things I have only recently come to realize are actually patterns for infidelity. It is absolutely sickening to read this and feel as if I am reading a script of my life in a matter of a few short days. My D-Day was actually February 21st. I spent the first week feeling miserable for myself and lost in a pit of anger deeper than I could get out of. I fought to get up every day since for my beautiful daughter and son. You think you know someone. It's a realization unlike any other I have ever had in my life. We were supposed to go on an Easter week vacation as a family to Orlando. Neither of my kids have ever been. Thinking about that now I want to vomit. I finally grew a set of balls yesterday after reading about the patterns of infidelity and the actual stages of behavior the cheating spouse goes through. And it was like reading the book on my wife. She's off deflecting blame, saying that the separation is for her to get some space while we work on our marital issues. We are apart because she made a decision to choose him over her family. The realization has been like pulling my head out from underwater or out of my back. So when she called last night to ask me how I was, I asked her if she had anything to say to me because I was busy getting the kids' meals cooked. No, she just wanted to see how I was doing. F you. I'm doing fine, I said, and I reminded her of her decision to have her affair and asked that she call only if it's for logistics with the kids, or if she has anything to share about what she is willing to do to come clean. In the meantime, and again, please bear with me, as I'm trying to hold down my job as I read and do all of this, I have started working on a plan to get to the OMW. They live in a large house in a gated community, but I am working on figuring out which school she drops her kids off at in the morning so I can have a chance to confront her after the kids are gone and he's not around. The GPS locator is a 6-month charge device, and I will use it in the interim to keep her honest in her new apartment that her dad is no doubt currently furnishing. That's it for now. I exposed to OMW last night after following her into a supermarket. I waited until she left the store and she was alone, so I approached her. Keep in mind, she knows me from a few years ago when our kids went to the same daycare center. She was blindsided and in shock. I brought proof via printouts of text messages directly from WW's cell phone. OMW and I spoke for an hour, gave her a good opportunity for me to tell her a lot as well as the fact that my family is in ruins. I have done my job and feel better on this part, and the chips will now scatter where they may. Hopefully I soon won't have to worry about the IA going underground now that WW is out of the house. OM prevents her from having her own cell phone and keeps his devices private and locked. That must be a piece of work. I got the sense that she is somewhat afraid of her husband actually. She said he has a temper, but she also said their marriage went through a very rough time in 2013, but they rebuilt. Wasn't infidelity according to her. She was blown away because things with them have been better than ever lately. A weight is off my shoulders. I was scared, but once I started, I was relieved to be doing my moral obligation and taking a stand for my family and my marriage. OM called me at home, told me his wife told him I visited her and he wished I could have called him so we could work this out. Didn't have VAR, so didn't want to say much. He denied having anything other than a mutual friendship and said my issues are between me and my wife and to leave him and his family out of it. He's no doubt already called WW. I did show her the chat screenshots. A police officer was on my street, so I inquired about a restraining order and she told me to not hesitate if I felt threatened. What was most telling about this jerk is how controlling he is of his wife and how he wished I would have called him so that none of this would ever get to his wife. We have no joint cards. I will be opening a new account tomorrow and WW has gone silent. First day of no contact since D-Day, and the kids are with me through Sun, so at even a hint of threat I'm filing for restraining from OM. I was trembling and scared over a week ago, my life in ruins around me, and incapable of feeling anything but rage, pity and betrayal. It has been the darkest few weeks of my life, but I now refuse to live in that place any longer. I've been blessed to have a truly amazing best friend for the last 28 years, and his support has helped me stand up, along with the solid advice given here. I was petrified of the thought of divorce even a week ago. It still scares me to think of a broken home for my 2 children that I love more than anything imaginable. But no longer fear it, because if it happens, it's because I decided not to continue down the path I've been cheated into taking, and start taking control of the rest of my life. Sure, I'll still be scared, but I'll be able to look at myself in the mirror every day and know that I've done the right thing by myself and by my children. Update: I bought a VAR and it's in my pocket at all times in case WW or OM contact me. My WW made contact. Either OM hasn't dropped the bomb or she's playing it cool. Her demeanor was as normal as could be expected under the circumstances. While I find it hard to believe that the OM wouldn't tell her this breaking news, given their damn near constant contact leading up to this, perhaps the OM is stewing or has decided to not make this worse. He has a temper, that I know, but he's also full of excuses at the same time. He was manipulative and now he's most likely making up stories to his wife that he controls. So, I'm less afraid of D now than ever before. But it's a step I still wrestle with for the sole reason of its finality. Yes, it could shake WW out of her fantasy land, but at the same time, it could take a very fragile person, which at this point I sense she is aft speaking with her father and make her worse. But then again, this gets worse before better either way, right? Her father now knows my side of the story, which is to say he knows that I always honored her and stood by her, even as she deceived me. Her father is very level-headed and calm, and to me he cannot take sides. He must support her, but he said she's all kind of messed up. She is convinced she isn't cut out for motherhood, and she is definitely not happy. What I can't sort out is if her guilt is preventing her from thoughts of R, or if she's moved past thinking R is possible. Part of me thinks she checked out years ago and this is her best chance at bowing out. Sad as that sounds, I feel that is highly possible. So that leaves me, sad as I am, I'm getting stronger and starting to realize the very real possibility of her not in my life as my W, but I can't move on without recognition and her owning this. I will be a man and own my share of our marital baggage, but I can't accept the fall of this family as it is currently going down. I don't deserve this. So, I'm in the hell called limbo, I suppose. I await something from her, prepared at the same time for an attack of sorts from Mom. Inching closer mentally to D. Do I have anything to lose by consulting an attorney? Probably a good move based on everyone's urging. I just wish I had a better sense of which way it would push her. There is a possibility that my WW has had a form of PPD, but it's likely that her emotional state has been ruled by a deeper depression for several years. She's been on and off meds in the past 4 years, and she also tried hormonal therapy. The only thing that seemed to change her mental outlook was exercise. The more vigorous and regular, the less depressed she felt. Unfortunately, with each cycle like this, her feeling good would take her further from me. I recall a similar situation back in 2007 or so. The better she started to feel about herself through exercise and weight loss, the better she would feel and more distant she would become. I sensed back then that she might be finding happiness elsewhere, but was never able to confirm it. So here is where we are. On Friday night we got together to let her see the kids. She does want to be with them, but she feels she needs to take things a day at a time, and she looks very gaunt and awful, as if she's taken weight loss past where she needs to. She seems emotionally vacant to me, unable to apologize or show any remorse for tearing this family apart. She stares forward and says little. I asked her if she would please talk to me, and she said, I don't know what to say to you. I've discussed this with some dear friends who know her a long time, and they have concluded that she is refusing to deal with the guilt. She won't tell people what is going on other than to say that her and I are having issues. She's not taking any accountability, and I'm starting to actually think that this is what she has wanted all along. Perhaps she purposely left that text message to for me to see. Twisted as that sounds, if she's that desperate, is it not possible? I agree with the recommendation for psychiatrist. I'm having a hard time doing 180 simply because I am worried for her well-being. A friend told me of a similar situation with his ex where his ex tried to ex herself. Her emotional vacantness scares me to my core. She's not this person, she can't be this person. It's as if she's been possessed. Is this what happens to people who do something so heinous? I told her I have no desire to live in limbo. I didn't put her on the clock with the app, but I told her I don't want this situation for my children and for myself. I visited her father. He is recovering from bypass surgery this past December, and told him at length about my concerns for her mental health. Both he and her brother are very concerned. She is saying she is fine when asked. I decided to do after realizing that I was tired. I am being disrespected. I consulted with 2 attorneys who were different in their approach, but both gave me some things to consider before doing the asset discovery. My wife contacted me and asked if I had retained an attorney. One attorney left a message on house voicemail, and we both get emails of voicemails. I said yes, and she asked if I would consider mediation to avoid cost and work things out between us amicably. I agreed with caveats that we both first meet and discuss our intended outcomes rather than spending 2 hours at 400 and walk away with nothing but disappointment. She agreed. She told me she only wants money to care for my son and daughter and has no interest in the house or its contents. I decided to immediately mediate. In mediation, she again indicated wanting only spousal support to cover the kids and told me if I could afford the mortgage then I should stay in the house. Joint custody 50-50 split and some money from some investments as opposed to what she legally could get in spousal support and child support based on our salary differential. The mediator was somewhat in disbelief but agreed to draft a property settlement and outline the terms of our deed. We are hopefully a few weeks from drafting an agreement for the courts with a schedule for joint custody and most everything else worked out. I was on the fence for so long, guys, you know that. Foolishly thinking my wayward spouse would wake up. Then I decided to respect myself and live my life and let her go. He is over, but she has no remorse and isn't wasting any time furnishing her apt with money from her father, telling her family that we weren't right together and that her affair was never physical, as if that diminishes its effect on our lives together. I decided to strike while she was a groggy bear, my attorney's term for it, and still living with the guilt. The alternative for me would be brutal financially, and I'd end up in a shack myself trying to care for my kids. From now on, it's only about the three of us and the rest of our lives. That's all I can control, and that's all I want to focus on now. I'm done living a loveless lie and being disrespected. I filed for divorce and it was made official in September 2017. We did a collaborative after mediation and I ended up buying her out of our marital residence. 50/50 joint custody of the kids, and a settlement that made things manageable for me to support myself and my wonderful children. I will freely admit that my greatest trepidation in all of this was the well-being of my children and feeling like shattering their illusion of family and of unity. But God has a curious way, and over these last many months I've learned to embrace my opportunity to be an even better father than I was capable. Free from the lies, the stomach-churning months of anguish living with someone who didn't respect me, lied to my face, and ultimately showed no accountability in tearing my family. Freed from feelings of inadequacy, and finally able to be that single parent that I truly had been all these past years in our less than ideal marriage. I will always harbor resentment, at least after a year that's how I still feel. I will always be pained by the brutal truth, and I will always feel the lip-biting angst when I take the high road around her for the benefit of my children. I have so much love in my heart for my kids. I try to find ways and ask God regularly for the faith, strength, and ability to forgive, one day. But that is very hard and I struggle with it constantly. My ex is out on her own. She's had a string of significant others since her father put her up in an apartment. I battled regularly with her to keep her disgusting partners away from my kids prior to our official D, but that too was a battle I had to resign myself to. I gave up driving by her app to see which man she was with, gave up on catching her in lies, and stopped driving down her street altogether. I credit a very dear friend for being there for me every step of the way and keeping me focused. I began working out daily 2 months after our separation. I began eating and treating myself well. I began to focus on being around for my kids and being around for the second half of my life and making it the best part yet. When I am without my kids, in this big house, I sometimes cry uncontrollably. It's difficult, really difficult, even a year later to come to terms with this new life I am in. To watch someone, ex, who is so consumed with herself and so very unfettered with being a mother and finding that I am the complete opposite. It brings home a lot of realization and forces me to face truths about the fact that what I had wasn't a marriage. It wasn't a lost cause, but there weren't two people trying to fix it. At the end of the day, she is happy. She's out of the apt and into her own place that her father helped her buy. It's great for the kids in a great neighborhood, and it's close. I see my kids 3 to 4 days a week and we have an agreeable schedule for custody. I work all the time at making sure the kids are understanding of the situation, and I am there for them if they ever get sad or wonder why things are the way they are. She still does tons of crap to piss me off, but it's mainly the selfish crap that makes me the most ticked off. Trips with her BF, skydiving, and all kinds of bucket list things that reek and scream midlife crisis. But it is what it is. I want to be healthy and happy, so I focus elsewhere. I met a woman a few months into my separation and she and I shared a lot of great times. We were in similar situations and we helped each other out quite a bit emotionally. I chose to never bring her around my children, something I wish she would have chosen to do with her 4 to 5 dudes she's been with the last year. I'm just not ready. I need more work on me, but I will get there. In some strange way, the fact that I stand on a higher moral ground is a mild comfort, but it's never really ever enough. But my faith is something that I've come back to. It's something I've prayed for and am working at. I hope I get there. I really think that forgiveness would free me of so much of what I keep inside me. I just don't know how or when I ever will. Nothing ever became of Om. Oh, as expected, buried head in sand, and they live a happy life, I guess. I've seen them around town a few times and that's where my faith really is tested. But again, I'm taking a high road if it's there to take. I know now the extent of my ex's infidelity. It was divulged by her father to me over time. He told me she was in love with another man years ago, during our marriage, but she let him go after much emotional struggle. Finding this out hurt deeply, of course. I was gutted, but over time it made the most recent transgressions somehow easier to swallow, in that it solidified that I was a fool, and not meant to be married to someone that didn't respect me. Was she a serial cheater? I don't know. Back then, I don't even remember us having issues. But maybe she would say that in and of itself shows how clueless I was. I just hate the fact that I trusted her and she violated it, shredded it, and didn't even cry a single tear. I don't even think I know her or knew her. But when I see her now, and it's funny, I read a thread online entitled, "When you see your ex, is it me or do you feel like who the F is this person?" I really feel like she is an alien. But that might just be all the collagen, Botox, and new ink. My comment: whenever a cheating wife is caught, she first seeks to minimize what they did. She knows that telling you about the great bonding is not going to make things better, so she tells as little as she can. She therefore continues to lie and deceive you. Their next strategy is to shift all or part of the blame to you. You are not the only guy who wants to go to counseling, but his wife does not. To tell the truth, people often go to counseling too late. You cannot erase the hurt and the events that happened. No matter what, you will forever be suspicious of her and she will grow to resent it. It takes a very long time to regain trust from someone who sounds like she does not love you and is using depression and anything else she can think of to deflect blame. I am suffering from depression but not having affairs. Why would messing up my marriage make me feel better? Just excuses. Story 2. Married 3 years and together 13ers. 2 children ages 2 and 8. I was a verbally abusive husband at times. No excuses, but also was open and very loving. My wife, who is extremely attractive and successful, she asked for a separation 10 months back after we had gone through hard times. She was spending a lot of time at her mother's house, an unusual amount of time with a 21-year-old kid and his family, with our kids who lived across the street from her parents. I did all the wrong things, begged, cried, and told her all the regrets and deep hurt I felt since she had left and that I loved her and wanted to keep our family together. I took couples therapy alone because she was unwilling. Almost 9 months separated, she confirmed she was in love with the 21-year-old kid and wants to file. Thought she hasn't. She said they had kept their relationship a secret for months, even though I had asked her several times if she had feelings for him. My wife is 32 and I'm 34. I find losing her extremely difficult and I really love her and was willing and still willing to forgive her and try to save our marriage and 13-year relationship. I had told her that I will forgive her and that the kid, who also has a 3-year-old, is a mistake and she would regret it. I don't know if she is truly in love or it's some kind of midlife crisis. She simply responded with, "If he and I don't work, I will come back to you." I never responded to that, even though she has said it at least 5 times. I was not perfect and she was damn close before her affair. I miss her and I seem like nothing to her. She said he makes her happy. I just like hearing people's thoughts on how to handle losing someone they love so much. I'm lost and broken right now. I moved 2 hours away, share regular custody of our kids. She lives at our family home and already took our pics off the wall. It's sad. I moved to my sister's 2 months ago. I left a good paying job and had to find a job here. Yes, we are still married. I have not filed because I thought she would have by now. Apparently in no rush. I really can't afford to file cause I'm trying to move back closer so I can see my kids a lot more. I left my last job because she also worked there and the stress and pain were unbearable. Her multiple time statement, "I'll come back to you if he and I don't work," left me confused and insulted. It's not really flattering, especially being a backup to a 21-year-old kid. She's 32. It's crazy. She told me to date when she came clean. I am not ready and focus on my kids and rebuilding myself. She got wind from someone that I had slept with someone back home and immediately power texted and demanded to know who it was and if she knew her, which was really confusing, especially considering I hadn't slept with anyone since her on Christmas while visiting our home. Not knowing she was sleeping with a young guy the whole time. She was never like this. She was sincerely a great wife. We started having problems when I started going out and partying a lot for a couple months, which I own up to. Soon as I realized we were falling apart, I tried everything and changed, but it was too late, I guess. She turned to a 21 kid and left me like nothing. She has said she wants me to date. Don't wait for her. She wants to give this boy a chance. Not our marriage, obviously. I'm not waiting for her, but find everything hard to process. This girl was everything to me, even though I made mistakes. I tried really hard and she admitted I changed. But she was already gone. I know I should file. I struggle with the reality of the situation every day. She was almost perfect and she became this. I again was a crappy husband, but I tried to save us. Plus, the humiliation of all our friends and family knowing I got left for a kid 13 years younger. I just focus on the kids and me. I thought she was wanting the divorce and in love with him, so figured it would be a priority to her. Unfortunately, I'm not waiting for her nor being a fallback. I simply am trying to grasp how she could have done this. I guess I'm just trying to let go of the person I loved so much. The person she is now is not the woman I loved. That I know. It's tough. I try not to judge by ages. But as a woman leaving her husband of 13 years and breaking a family with 2 young children for a 21-year-old when she's 32 seem outrageous to anyone. The kid was 13 when we had our daughter, for crying out loud. I never wanted to file because I thought I was giving up on my promise. She should have to file to end us. I'm taking work off Friday and driving down to file. Taking the first step toward regaining my life and self-respect back. I know it's over. Moving on and letting go of the 13 years she was great. Kind of like mourning a loss. I have to deal with it, but it takes time regardless who she become. My kids are always my #1 priority. She is a wonderful mother, grant she does some immoral things because of her relationship. As far as what she shared with my daughter, it was shady. It was last night and she was extremely defensive when I asked what was said. She said my daughter asked her about him because my family up here had talked about him around Thanksgiving time and it must have been something on her mind. Yes, that's right. My daughter asked her because of something my family said about him 3 to 4 months ago. Which is obviously bull crap. I'm assuming after my wife came clean to me it was a matter of time before she jammed the boy down my daughter's throat. She already takes my 2-year-old son over his family's place since the beginning. Nothing I can do to stop it. She has stated she is really young still and not wasting life. I caged her for years and felt she missed out on her 20s. I didn't know that meant dating a 21-year-old and hanging out with his young friends. Just crazy to believe. I hate seeming like a victim considering I partied hard for months leading up to her leaving and I was verbally abusive at times. I know in my heart what she did and doing is despicable, but I try my best to take accountability for my part. She claims it was my fault and I did all this, that it wasn't an affair and there was no cheating. But I know better and so does everyone we know. She had said herself had he not been around she would most likely try to reconcile when I tried my ass off for the past 10 months. I moved 2 hours away because that's where my family is. I worked at the same company as my wife and it began to get so stressful that I began to have suicidal thoughts. I left my job and moved. I gave her our home, found a job here, and started to take my sanity back. People can question leaving and I understand. But I did it to get mentally better. Seeing my kids 3 says a week is horrible. I work and they are my weekends. I'm working on moving close to them by spring. So yes, they are number one. They are all I have. I can't take full custody. Besides loving a 21-year-old and taking my kids around him, she is in no way putting them in danger. Immoral, yes. Fact is also I wouldn't want to take full custody. She does some immoral choices, but my kids love their mother and I know she loves them. I'm not sure what infidelity brings to our divorce. I know she claims up and down she didn't see him till after we separated. But she started the separation well after I questioned her intentions with him, so it's obvious. Not to mention keeping it secret for months while I tried to save our marriage. She would say let's try but go slow every 3 weeks, but say she was done trying without ever having done anything. As recent as December she said give us a few months away from each other then we can try. But was with him the wild time. Pretty heartbreaking, jerking stuff. I'm going to contact a lawyer tomorrow. It really is sad. I always thought I could save our marriage, but she just changed so drastically. She really was my best friend and always adored me. I never wanted it to end this way. I really loved her. Other than filing for divorce ASAP, I have nothing to cut loose. She gave up on me long ago and moved on with a mature, lots in common, 21-year-old whose daughter and family she treats as her own. He doesn't have money and a part-time under-the-table job. He's not attractive. It's confusing. He treats her heart like gold and she has never had anyone treat her so special. She disowned all our friends and literally told my whole family to F off. I worry about how the kids will see everything play out. Who knows, maybe he is Prince Charming and they will live happily ever after. At least the kids would be okay. Update, I just received a job offer back home doing exactly what I was doing before leaving home but with another company. Making double what I make up here in this small town that pays little. The major twist is my wife is the one who contacted them after learning through her work they were looking for someone with my experience. I'm extremely excited to take the job and it will give me a better income and I can afford to raise my kids and be financially stable. But I simply can't afford to pay for a lawyer if I move back because it will take every penny. I have to get an apartment and move back. I have to file and it's extremely important to do immediately. What do I do? I should specify that the job offer is them wanting me to come in for an interview at the end of next week. They said they are really interested in my background and experience. So, at this point I'm confident they want to hire me, but time isn't on my side and hopefully it's an immediate opening and wanting me to start at ASAP. I am confident mainly because they did call me after all and he said I sound like I'm the guy they are looking for. It's scary cause I don't want to sit and wait. I do need to get legal advice regardless. I lost my cool last night. After hearing how my daughter feels I had some harsh words for my soon-to-be ex-wife. We always text but I was fortunate enough that she called and I got to unload a lot off my mind. We actually talked on the phone for hours. Mostly negative arguments. Tonight, I feel depressed. I feel I let her get the best of me. Though she was cold-hearted and not shy telling she's so happy she's divorcing me and the kid is amazing. All the things I did wrong and things I didn't do. It's really hitting me today. She wants to file together and wants no child support. Also wants me as ISO to move closer to home. But as far as our home and belongings will take a long time to decide how that will play out. Which is going to next to impossible to do. She hates my guts after the hours of telling what I thought of her decisions. She still accuses me of being a crappy husband, trying to screw her out of everything that belongs to her, and how I never made her happy. Her story about how she told my daughter of her relationship with the kid was fabricated to seem it was my fault. My daughter and I had a long deep convo and one main point she said was she doesn't like the kid. Her mother told her she has to respect him and listen to him. Which my daughter responded with why. He's not much older than me. My wife's brother had been giving hints to my daughter from what she said and that's why she confronted her mom. What was the hint that really tipped of my daughter, you might ask? Her uncle simply said, why don't you tell your mom to stop hanging out with little boys and go back to your dad and family? I told her I did everything I could to change and save our marriage. She simply laughed and said sorry you were too late. She said she didn't make a mistake and call her in a year 5. 10 years and she will still happy she left me for him. Left me period. Said I was evil and that type on conversation we had was why she left me. I really let her have it. I didn't call her names but totally bashed what decisions she made and how it affected the kids. It really didn't faze her though. She said she cried all morning yesterday. Mainly from my understanding that I told her how all our friends despise her and want nothing to do with her after what she's done to the kids and me. She just rubbed in how she sleeps with the kid in our bed and whatnot. It was pretty bad. I really walked away from telling her off feeling I gave her exactly what she wanted. I became the mean person I was before and like you said made her feel like she is justified and I'm an evil person. So, I'm going to completely shut her off other than kids talk. Ironically, I had done that for the whole week prior to the blow up. She was enraged I was only replying to her text about the kids and was short and to the point. She texted the whole day Friday trying to find what I was doing and who I was with because I didn't respond to anything else she sent. She even went as far as sending pics of the kids she took while at work. I didn't respond so she became angry with mean texts. I got sucked in and only blamed myself. 180 back in effect now. She did actually call a company and got me an interview with great pay. It was a confusing gesture. I don't know if she did it because I was ignoring her and she started to feel guilty or simply did it to be nice and I would benefit our children. So, I do feel somewhat bad. Not going to lie. Some days are hard. Knowing this kid is playing house with my ex-wife gets to me. I try my best to focus on myself and kids but it's hard even after all these months to accept after 13 years I wasn't good enough. She is and raise a family with him. Some days really pulls you down. My comment, I felt like OP is living in the past. The good side is, the STBX is not requesting much out of OP, and he is getting a new job and a better salary. He just needs to live in the present and he should be fine moving forward.